Let's dissect this book, AI Time Series Controls System Modeling by Chuzo Ninagawa. Introduction. Abstract. The chapter begins with the definition of time series in the system control and describe the position of control design modeling from the time series data of physical quantities of interest. Statistical modeling approach is introduced as black box modeling on the control system target. Then the concept of machine learning modeling approach will be introduced. Keywords: time series data, white box modeling, black box modeling, auto regressive model, machine learning. Time series. What is time series dealt in this book? So this book describes the practical application of artificial intelligence AI model using time series data in system control. It consists discussion in the application of machine learning to the analysis of and modeling the time series data of physical quantities to be controlled in the field of system control. In the field of system control, time series is sequence of physical quantity data arrangement in the time order at fixed time intervals. Although it is not absolute necessary to have a fixed time interval, virtually the data sequences with a fixed time interval is called a time series from a standpoint of mathematical handling and practical data organization. Depending on the time scale of the physical quantity of interest, the interval may be 1 microsecond or 1 hour. In any case, this book implicitly refers to them as a fixed time interval time series. In recent years, the term time series has often been used in field of information science, especially in the field of AI, to refer to the order of appearance of words and scenes in the language processing and video processing. In contrast to control, the term time series is used situations such as word order and image transition. There are different form time series in system control and are outside the scope of this book. The purpose of the book is discussing time series in system control is to predict and manipulate the target physical quantity based on its history. Dynamic system authors under exclusive license to Springer Nature Singapore Private Limited 2023. Nina Gawa AI time series control system modeling https://doi.org, and this is their IP addresses or email address, something website. In a system in which a subsequent change in a physical quantity to be controlled depends on the time series of the state physical quantity that determines the state. Dynamic systems exhibit the physical phenomena in which the transient characteristics are problematic, as well as the steady state characteristics. The transient are occurs. The transient are problematic because they are affected by the system state before and after the changes occurs. The control target of this book is a system in which the essential important to handle the time history or time series of physical quantity that determine the response behavior of the system state. In addition, when dealing with the time series of control, it is interested to consider target systems in which each physical quantity that constitutes the time series data has the stochastic value. In a real world control, even in the system there are where there is no uncertainty in the target itself, it is natural of the observed data of controlled quantity to be noisy, and the actual manipulation physical quantity will naturally contains errors related related to the calculated value of manipulated quantity. However, the subject of interest to control engineers is not merely such uncertainty in the observation of operations, but dynamic systems dominated by intrinsic stochastic phenomena. Time series for statistical control. Naturally, if the time series of the past state history of dynamic system is different, the transient response output or the change in the controlled quantity will be different even if the current input, the amount of operation in exactly the same. In addition, even if the time series of the state history and the input at the present time are exactly the same, there are dynamic systems with uncertain intrinsic behavior, that is statistical elements depending on the target system. The book concentrated the statistical dynamics system with inherent uncertainty. The uncertain behavior of such statistical dynamic system cannot be easily taken into account by deterministic control theory that has been widely used so far. In present years, research result in control theory have led to development of the advanced mathematical methods that can deal with the uncertain control target. However, it must be said that these methods are too difficult for engineers in the field who are involved in the control of embedded systems. Such inherent certain dynamic systems may include the following. An example of statistical dynamic system is predicted of the path of the typhoon. The purpose of this system is not to manipulate for system itself, but the quantity estimated the transient changes in the future based on past history of state. The load frequency control, which targets each power plant from the power systems center, power supply command center, is example of statistical dynamic system. Control in these systems prediction along in is not enough to solve the problem. It is necessary in feedback the observed value and perform control operations to output the operational quantities. However, the system frequency, which is controlled quantity, cannot be completely controlled due to inherent unnecessity or statistical factor of the control target, and the rate to stay the controlled quantity in the target region is to keep with the practical range. In this section, we will review the target physical quantities, which are the controlled quantity, and the operating quantity, and the state variable in the statistical dynamic system treated in this book. The physical quantity here are the quantities that determine the behavior of the target system, especially the properties governed by the physical laws of natural sciences, such as temperature, voltage, velocity. These elements are called physical control elements in this book. Next, we consider factors that are not physically controlled but are caused by social factors. In general society, the word control is used to describe managerial behavior toward highly uncertain phenomena. The word infection control for the novel coronavirus, for example, is not the same as the restrictive definition of control engineering. The term control seems to be closer to management, but the reason to use the term control is that it involves some kind of feedback and manipulation to approach the desired state. Naturally, these inherent uncertain elements are separated from the laws of physics, such as psychology of human behavior. These elements are called uncertain control elements. The control of statistical dynamic system is in this book deals with the objects that have both of the above elements. In other words, it deals with the very interesting systems control that combines two elements, one dealing with industrial physical quantities and other dealing with social uncertainties. Although there are many aspects of complex system control consisting of uncertain social and industrial systems that do not conform to the mathematical precision of automatic control engineering, the controller output an operational quantity based on the observed physical quantity of the dynamic system, and an uncertain response is termed the uncertainty management control, which increase the probability that the controlled quantity will be in desired range. It much needed in the real world. In a journal, it must be said to be automatic control theory, as the academic discipline has been extremely difficult to handle dynamic systems with uncertain responses. Although it makes full use of advanced mathematical theory, it is felt that the practical method for managing the controlling a control target with such certain behavior has not been accessible. The topic of the statistical extraction of uncertain control features from the series data is addressed, which has been interestingly popular in recent years as one of the answer in this book. The decimation of the time series data or for control, it will be covered lately.